Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Desmond Rice, and I'm chair of the Northern California chapter of the Blacksett Microsoft Employee Resource Group. Today, we planned a great discussion with Microsoft employees and recruiters to give you some insight about the skills you need to land your next role here at Microsoft. Over the next hour, you're going to hear from folks who are in various stages of their careers and learn about the steps they've taken to set themselves up for success. As we all know, the global pandemic has caused quite a bit of uncertainty for a lot of people. And we've learned that people hardest hit by job losses are those with lower incomes, women, and underrepresented minorities. But at Microsoft, we've set an ambitious plan to help. Earlier this year, we actually launched an initiative to help 25 million people around the world acquire digital skills through free training and low-cost certifications. We know that as we start to see the economy recover, there's going to be many new jobs that will require certain digital skills to be successful. So whether you want to be a software developer, if you want to be a project manager, a data scientist, or have any other tech role for that matter, we have learning paths and content to get you started. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So let's shift gears and dive right into our conversation. I actually want to welcome Sophia Miller to the discussion, and she's going to moderate today's event. Sophia is a senior account executive here at Microsoft who works with some of our largest and our most strategic customers. And I know she's going to have a lot of great insight to share on this topic of skilling and just the future of work overall. And I do want to just set a little bit of ground rules. If you have any questions for anyone on the panel or just want to learn more about what we're talking about, feel free to DM us on any of the channels you're watching on, whether it's Twitter or Instagram, and we will follow up with you. So let's go ahead and dive in. Let's get started. Hey, Sophia, how's it going?
It's good, Desmond. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for moderating the panel.
Absolutely, absolutely. So as Desmond shared, I am a strategic account director at Microsoft, and I am so excited to be here today. Botarji, Tudubain, wherever you are in the world, this is a great time for you to invest in yourself. And 2020 is not over yet. And the best calculated risk you can take is to bet on yourself. So I encourage all of you to lean in, take note of the panelists, look us up on LinkedIn, engage with us, put comments on Instagram and on Twitter, and we will definitely engage with your feedback as much as possible during the chat or after. So with that, I am super, super, super excited to kick off the day with two amazing female leaders in tech. These are my early career panelists, and I'm going to welcome Anna and Giovi to the virtual stage. Hello, ladies. How are you?
Hi. Very excited to be here.
Awesome, awesome. So we have some great content in store for you all, and I'm just so excited for the diversity between these two ladies. When I think back to my own career, I joined Microsoft through the Inspire program, which is targeted for MBA hires, and Giovi and Anna have such incredible stories that are unique, and I hope you all really understand that there are a lot of different journeys you can take into your path into Microsoft. So I'm going to hand it over to Anna to give an introduction of yourself in a little more detail.
Hi, my name is Anna, and I am a software engineer. I work on Microsoft PowerPoint. I've been here for 2 years, and yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. And did you guys hear that? She said PowerPoint. I know most of you use PowerPoints. Our girl is touching a product that millions of people use every single day. I love that. Thank you, Anna. Giovi?
Hi, guys. I'm Jovi. I'm a data scientist here at Microsoft. I work on the Yammer data analytics and strategy team, and I've been here just over 4 months.
I love it. We have new talent. This is what data scientists look like. Giovi is breaking so many stereotypes on there and what it needs to look like to be in STEM. So this is just incredible. So let's jump into it. So you both are early on in your career journey at Microsoft. What steps did you take to actually get into the roles that you're in? And I'll hand it over to Anna first.
So I got my opportunity at Microsoft through a recruitment program that actually was meant to tap into African talent straight from African universities. So it was actually an initiative that was pushed by an ERG here at Microsoft called Africans at Microsoft. And they wanted to see more people being employed straight from African universities. So it was an opportunity that was brought to my university, and the Career Services Department did a great job at spreading out the word to the recent graduates. So shout out to Ashesi University, my alma mater. And then from there, we got into it. It was quite a long recruitment program. It had one hackathon, a round of Skype interviews, and then a half-day round of on-site interviews at a Microsoft office. So yeah, I went through that process, and yeah, praise be to God, I got the job. What really stood out to me from that program was how intentional Microsoft was about not just getting you a job or getting you to do something for them, but about getting you into a role that you would enjoy and getting you to work on a product that you actually cared about. So what happened in my style was that the hiring managers that were at the final day of interviews were from different products, but not from PowerPoint. There was no one from PowerPoint there. But PowerPoint was my absolute favorite Microsoft application. And I did make that known during the interview process. So then after everything was over, they went a step further to get me a job on the PowerPoint team, although there wasn't a hiring manager at that interview session. And I think it's a point that has been kind of reiterated for me many times over during my stay here at Microsoft in the last 2 years, where I know I'm working for a company that is not just interested in me doing a thing for them and they would pay me in return, but they are looking to help me set up myself up for a successful career and help me work on things that I truly care about. So in short, yeah, that was how I got here.
I love that. And, just a few quick things that you shared there. One, ERGs are employee resource groups. So that's definitely a common tech acronym that you'll learn more about as you dive into the sector. The Blacks at Microsoft Employee Resource Group is hosting this one. And Anna, I love how you shared about what the Africans at Microsoft did to actually do grassroots efforts and get you into the company, which is just amazing. And another thing I loved about what you shared in your intro is the intentionality that you saw when you were recruiting with Microsoft. And I'm a huge believer in being intentional about not only your first role, but also the first manager or team you're going to join. It's so crucial as you think about growing your career journey. So thank you, Anna, for that introduction. Jovi, let's hand it over to you for your intro.
Sure. Yeah. So thank you. I prepared in various ways, but most importantly, I used LinkedIn to get seen and recruited. So during the job search process, I made sure that my profile was up to date. I had detailed descriptions of my experience and qualifications with wording that I knew would stand out to potential recruiters. And I also attached my resume to my profile. Then a Microsoft hiring manager reached out and initiated a phone call to discuss the opportunities available. It seemed like a great fit because I had relevant experience, and at the time I was living in the East Coast, but really wanted to be in San Francisco because I grew up in the Bay Area and California is what I call home. So I had some follow-up phone interviews with people from different teams to learn more about Microsoft and all the different opportunities available. The team I work for now was originally acquired by Microsoft. And because of that, we still have a startup-like culture in the sense that the work is very fast-paced. It's common for people to wear different hats and take on multiple responsibilities in their roles. And we're growing a ton as a business. So that's what stood out to me about my team. But, Microsoft is huge and there are so many different opportunities and different types of roles that you can check out and work for. So the possibilities to grow here are endless. And just to piggyback off of what Anna said, a lot of intentionality can be placed in that recruitment process. You have a lot of say for what team, you get recruited for and that you could join. But yeah, key takeaways from my experience is definitely to leverage LinkedIn, especially in today's digital economy. Social media is key to landing your dream job.
I love that. I mean, clearly you were destined to be a data scientist, right? When you talked about the work that you put in actually preparing yourself for the job interview process. So key things to remember and what you pointed out. Those qualifications, those keywords that you see when you're thinking about a job, it's important for you to have those things in your resume, in your profile, right? There is scraping that happens to figure out who are great candidates. So that was an excellent insight. And LinkedIn is definitely your best friend, especially in a world that we're living in right now with so much going digital. So I love those two insights. Then let's keep on talking about how you're keeping things current. So Anna, how about I hand it over to you to talk about how do you keep your technology skills current, especially in this remote environment?
So one thing I love about Microsoft is that there are so many avenues that you can use to keep your skills current that are online. So even before COVID and even before the entire pandemic started, we already had learning platforms that were online and take courses at your pace. And there are different courses on different things, soft skills, hard skills, technical skills, non-technical skills, all of those things have like programs and courses on the learning side where you can go and improve your skills. That aside, my personal favorite is something that we do in the Experiences and Devices organization at Microsoft called FHL, which stands for Fix, Hack, Learn. It's a full week where we just take off 1 week and you can either fix something that bothers you, you can create a hack, or you can learn. Personally, this year, I have taken that week off and invested in my skills and in learning something new. Sometimes we have learning sessions on technologies that are new, or learning sessions on things that we are already working on, but we need to brush up our skills on. So that is one of my favorite, my personal favorite go-to for learning is doing something during FHL, picking up a new skill or brushing up on something that I'm already working on. Yep.
Yeah, and I love that. I'm seeing a common thread here. So you had a hackathon when you were recruiting in that process, and one of your favorite ways to learn is this Fix, Hack, Learn process. So we all have different learning styles, and I love the way that you're talking about this hack process and honing in on problem areas where you can be creative and think of new solutions. So love that. JV, what about you? What are you doing to keep your skills current in this environment?
Just practicing, practice. Prior to Microsoft, I worked on a few side projects to practice new skills, but even now I use Microsoft's resources to tap into new learning opportunities as well. This is a really good question though, because I asked my onboarding buddy a very similar thing when I first joined, and I was trying to figure out the best way to find balance. I was like, do I focus on getting the work done for these team projects this week, or should I focus instead on completing these trainings to learn a new skill? And basically, it's been my experience that it doesn't have to be an or, instead it should be an and. Here you can work on your team projects and focus on improving your technical skills concurrently. It's very normal and actually encouraged. And I think this is, true just in tech in general. We're constantly trying to keep up with new trends, and tech is super innovative, so we also have to keep up with that growth. So in particular, I use like LinkedIn learning courses a lot. I use different internal Microsoft training courses. I take advantage of training conferences that we have. I attend town halls. I subscribe to various internal newsletters, which in addition to being a great way to stay informed, they also consistently alert employees of different opportunities that there are available to continue learning. And one more thing that I would recommend in terms of keeping your technical skills current is to just get outside of your comfort zone and try out new tools, try volunteering to work on things you've never done before, challenge yourself to learn something new and to leverage the knowledge of others by partnering closely with like teammates that you have that are experts in a certain subject that you want to learn more about.
I love that. One thing that stood out, and especially when we're talking about the state of Black talent, is that you said it's not an or, it's an and. When you talk about doing great things for your team and also taking time to pour into yourselves. And sometimes we get so caught into the minutiae and the day-to-day of all these projects we're doing for our team, and we forget to take a step back and pour into our own skill set. So I love that you mentioned that. And I love that you both talked about, again, different ways to learn through town halls, through newsletters, and LinkedIn Learning definitely is one of my favorites. Who's seen those LinkedIn Learning videos on those flights? Yeah. I'm like clicking on those. I love it. So engaging, so much great diverse content. So again, thank you for sharing those tips. So sharing some more nuggets of advice from both of you ladies. When you think about where you are today in your career, what advice would you have for others who want to set off in a similar direction? And JV, I'm going to start with you first.
Sure. So when I think about, what's helped me get to where I am right now, I think that the number one thing that helped me get to where I am today was working hard and being self-motivated. I will tell others who want to set off on a similar path, don't shy away from ambition, take risks, work hard, and make the time to work on improving skills that you're passionate about. So in my case, I realized that I had a passion for science in middle school. I really liked studying the Earth and space and learning about how our universe works. So I searched for summer science camps, and that's how I ended up doing my first tech boot camp in 7th grade. I had qualified for a scholarship to study science and decided that I wanted to give computer science a shot. I really loved it. So even though my middle school and high school did not offer any computer science courses, I used free online resources to learn, and in my free time, I practiced and tried out new skills like programming in Python. I learned SQL and worked on basic statistics and Excel, and these are skills that I continue to work on improving today. I just graduated this past May from a liberal arts college where I majored in a non-technical degree, but I was able to leverage the various outside internships and independent projects that I had done over the years to land a technical role here at Microsoft as a data scientist.
I love that. And, a few things. I also studied psychology and went to liberal arts college way back when. So it is great that you're showing that you can have, I would say, not the traditional pathway to get into tech and still thrive. And you are a data scientist, right? So incredible. And another thing that stood out was that 7th grade you mentioned?
Yes.
Okay.
Loved science from a little kid. Yep. 7th grade.
So I mean, it's just in your core, and I just love to hear how building blocks that we may not think that are really important maybe early on in life can still play a big role as you grow older into your career. So thanks for sharing that. Anna, what about you? Some words of wisdom to share?
So I would say, first of all, it's okay. Like, one thing I want to point out is that it's okay to not know what you want to do from the get-go. So I didn't grow up thinking, oh, when I grow up, I want to be a software engineer. No, but it was on my list of things that I would like to try. So a lot of times I meet people who are graduating from college and you ask them, so what do you want to do after you're done? And the answer is, I don't know, or I'm not sure. And really, I tell them that's okay, but what are the list of things that you would at least like to try? So then when you have that list of things you want to try, then you figure out, okay, what skills do I need to be able to try these things, and what is in my reach to actually get those skills? So I discovered computer science when I got to university. So up till then, I knew about the field, but I wasn't really interested. And the only reason why I got interested was because in my freshman year, we had a compulsory introduction to programming course that everybody needed to take. So then I took that course and I was like, wow, this is interesting. I want to continue. And I actually switched majors from a business admin concentration to computer science, which was like two different worlds. But just being willing to try something different proved to get me on a path that I actually ended up really liking. So then the things that you want to try, you figure out what skills do I need. And then after that, another thing to think about, maybe who are the people that I can connect to help me explore these areas more. And be open to meeting those people everywhere and anywhere. So I really love Giovi's point about LinkedIn. That's a very great resource that you can use. I have people reaching out to me on LinkedIn like almost every week, just asking questions. And when I get wind of opportunities, I send them out to them. That's a great way to meet people. But really, you can also meet people in like everyday life, So just be open to meeting people. For me, one of the major breakthroughs of connections that I made was through a non-technical program. So whilst I was in school in my 3rd year, I did a program called Semester at Sea. And when I went on there, I was actually there as an ambassador for Ghana to teach them about cultural things and how to behave in a Ghanaian setting, because they were sailing from South Africa to Ghana. But on that ship was Joe Belfiore, who is a CVP in Office Experiences Organization. And I mean, I didn't go there to meet him, but there he was. And I met his family and I made that connection. And then 2 years later, when I got this opportunity to interview with Microsoft, then I reached out and said, hey, I got this opportunity. What do you think? And of course, I actually talked to his wife and she was like, of course, it's great. You should apply and give it your best shot. And so, like, that was great encouragement for me. But I didn't go onto the ship thinking, okay, I'm going to meet somebody at Microsoft. So be open to making connections everywhere. And yeah, after you figure out those connections and you make those connections, then for me, I feel like sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith. You may not always know from the get-go that I'm going to apply for this job and it's going to be great and I'm going to get it. But sometimes, even if you have a slight fear or you have a slight, you're not very sure that you're going to get it, you should just take the leap of faith. That's what I truly believe. And you never know what would come out of it. And yeah, that's basically it for me, because I took many leaps of faith. Honestly, when I saw this job from Microsoft, I mean, I'm like a small town girl from a little country in Africa. I just thought, this is a great opportunity. I'm just going to give it my best shot. I didn't go in thinking I'm definitely going to get this job, but I thought it was worth a try. And it did turn out to be worth a try. So after you figure out what you want to try, you find the skills you need to make it. Then you figure out what connections can I make to help me get there. And then you just take a leap of faith. That's what I advise.
All right, ladies, thank you so much. I mean, the takeaway is, again, the best calculated risk you could take is to bet on yourself. Take that leap of faith, use LinkedIn. There are so many ways that you can connect with others as you're going through this journey of working in the tech sector. Thank you so much. You've given us such hope. So many people that I know that have never seen a data scientist that looks like Giove, or someone coming through that's actually not a citizen of the US. So honestly, great introspection for me as well. And I'm gonna hand it back over to Desmond for a brief intermission. Thanks, ladies.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Oh my God, that was a great discussion. Thanks for sharing. You know, it's always good to hear from people who are early in their career, because job seekers often ask us how and just where to get started. So I do hope that that conversation left you all with some great tips. Before we talk to our later in career panelists, if you will, I do want to take some time, just a moment, to highlight some of the work we're doing here at Microsoft when we talk about advancing in the area of inclusion. So among 2020's other big moments was a broad conversation around race and inequity, particularly as it relates to the Black and African American community, right? So Microsoft has, really been intentional about listening and learning and discussing the role that we can play when it comes to fostering a more diverse and inclusive company. And part of that work is looking at where we can see what's working and where we can also see where we can make improvements. So obviously our skilling initiative is one of those ways, of course, but we're also doing so much more, and we have made many commitments, some new and some meant to redouble our efforts in this space. So for example, we are increasing our investment in programs for employees who want to aspire to be managers or in senior positions. We're obviously furthering our recruitment process across a broader range of colleges, not just the traditional ones that we always recruit at, but specifically colleges like HBCUs. And even before college, we've expanded our Microsoft TILS program, which is a volunteer program that works with high school teachers and schools to help them set up or grow their computer science classes. And so we're putting ourselves on a track to train the next generation of tech workers. We're also opening up a lot of new offices where we know there's diverse talent. So places like Reston, Virginia, Charlotte, and Atlanta. So if you're watching, you should know that there is a Microsoft job for you just about anywhere. It doesn't have to be in those traditional places like New York or Seattle or the Bay Area. And of course, we continue to train our employees on inclusive hiring practices. These points are not exhaustive. There's still so much happening behind the scenes to accelerate our progress. And we know that there's still a lot more work to do. Recently, we just put out our diversity and inclusion report, our 2020 version of that report, and it shows some steady progress, but so much more work remains. And we know that it takes a great deal of intention and accountability to get truly where we want to be. We're definitely up for the task here at Microsoft, and it's our expectation that new employees will be just as committed when they join us to helping us get diversity and inclusion right as well. So I did want to leave you with, a couple of those points just to let you know that we are advancing to make our workplace more equitable, more inclusive, more diverse. And so when you come to Microsoft, that's what you can expect as well. So let's shift gears a bit. Let's dive back in with Sophia and talk more about leadership and representation with a few folks who've kind of worked in this space for a while. And let's switch gears and talk to folks who've been in their mid-career or later career stage. So back to you, Sophia.
Thanks, Desmond. All right, super excited for this next group of panelists that are amazing people that I've had the pleasure to work with through the Blacks at Microsoft Employee Resource Group. So I'm going to invite Maurice and Dante to the virtual stage. Bring them up. Okay, hello. How are you both doing?
Good. Good. How are you?
Good. Good to see your faces. So we're going to keep this live and spicy. I hear there's a question from the audience, and as you're thinking through your introductions, I would love for you to weave this in. So any tips for a mid-career tech worker? This person is a software engineer, and they want to know if you have tips on how to make it to the next level, like a senior manager level. All right. So I know that was not scripted, so I'll give you a second. And then I'm going to hand it over to Dante to give us an introduction. And then if you can address that question as well, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, awesome. So hi, everyone. My name is Dante Avery, and I've been at Microsoft for 10 years. My current role, I'm a principal engineering manager for the Yammer product. And my responsibilities is leading the security, privacy, and compliance team for Yammer. And so let's see, how do I weave this in into like any tips for moving from like a software developer to a manager? That's a really great question. Two things come to mind. One is kind of building up those leadership skills. And a lot of times people say, well, how do I do that if I'm not a manager? And I think being a leader is you don't have to have the authority to be a leader. There's a lot of things that you could do. And two, for me, building those leadership skills was being part of like the ERG here at Microsoft. So I co-led and co-started the BAM NorCal with Sophia, and I learned a lot of great leadership skills from doing that. I mean, organizing people, trying to get projects executed, and I actually used that information to help move to a management position when that came up. The last thing I want to mention to move into like the next level of management is think about who are your sponsors. We talk about sponsorship a lot, but think about who's also in the room talking to your manager and other managers when things are going on. So think about Hamilton. You want to be in a room when it happens, but you're not there, but who's there for you? And that's actually how the management position came up for me. A colleague of mine, they were talking about a new manager position, and they were like, hey, what about Dante? And everyone in the room was like, that sounds like a good idea, which I think is great. But really think about who's in that room that you want to speak for you, and think of other ways of building up those leadership skills without necessarily having the authority.
Thanks for that, Dante. I mean, one, any Hamilton reference is a win. But two, what you're touching on also is brand, right? And brand is what people think about you, what the experience is like when you are not in the room. Yes. So having sponsors there and your brand to speak for you is key. So I love that example. Maurice, so happy to have you here. I want you to share a bit about your background, and then I'm going to toss in a question as well to share critical skills for career advancement, since you've had a very, very diverse career up to where you are now.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, hello, everybody. Just wanted to say, I'm excited to be here and to talk to everyone. My career, I'm a principal designer at Microsoft. My role is specifically management and building and developing and designing products specifically. Sometimes I will actually design the products myself. And then sometimes my role is just managing designers that are working on the products that we are building. In terms of career journey and skills, it's always important that you have a tremendous amount of belief in yourself. I think confidence goes a long way towards allowing you to be able to articulate in a manner that speaks of your worth in the room. And I think a lot of times, we have imposter syndrome, and we are sometimes nervous that the things that we're saying may or may not be right. And having the confidence, and obviously the skill, but more or less the confidence to be able to speak out and to, really have confidence in the words that you're saying and present yourself in a certain way. Also, I think that it's really important to be able to communicate to people too. I think a lot of times we, and just to build upon that, communication is not just speaking, but it's also writing. It's just being able to articulate an idea or be able to talk to people or write to people in a certain way that helps them understand things. And I find those to be pretty critical for those that are looking to get into management and more leadership positions, because when you are going from an individual contributor, basically someone who is just designing products or building a product from an engineering standpoint, to actually managing, it's really your role to really nurture and support those that you are managing. And so you have to be able to talk to people and be able to be clear about what things you expect out of people. And that comes from communication. And again, talking about confidence, it also comes from that, being able to know what you're talking about and being able to say and direct people to the right things.
I love those. I'm gonna make sure you guys are catching these gems, because they are dropping gems for you right now. So a few things. One, this piece on confidence or swag, whatever you want to refer to it as, you called out something, this imposter syndrome, and a lot of us have that, especially from underrepresented communities. And often what's missing in the room is your authentic voice, like who you truly are. So that resonates and you have to lean into it. Trust me, it is a value add. So I love that Maurice pointed that out. And the second piece that also pulls back in from our conversation earlier with our ladies is how you level up in leadership positions. You can have the technical chops, but you have to have those soft skills, those communication skills. And sometimes we lose sight of that. It's great to go to the coding boot camps and do all of the technical things, but you have to know how to talk to people, how to make things clear and concise, right? How to help people feel inspired and energized. And that really is a communication piece. So I love those tips, Maurice and Dante, and what you shared. So I want to keep the conversation going. And Maurice, I'm going to start with you first, because one of the questions is how to make a shift into the tech industry or a new job function in tech. So I'm going to hand it over to you to talk about that pivot.
Yeah, this is an interesting question because, making the shift over to tech is not always, it's not always clear. I think that I can speak from my own journey that I started off, as a designer working in more of a visual communication or print-based, world, if you will, designing brands and brochures and things like that, to designing, flows and experiences for users in mobile apps and websites. And, my transition into tech really was through my own curiosity. I was interested in designing as, a core thing that I just like to do. But one of the things that really sort of shifted me to tech was this innate sort of quest to dig a little bit deeper into the work that I was doing to connect with people on a more personal level. And so I began really by studying and just kind of working at home and doing things on my own. I started to, have this curiosity around asking people how they were doing things. And I let that curiosity drive me towards, finally making a decision to move into tech. And so it wasn't really a linear path. It was kind of like a culmination of a lot of different things that I experienced in people that I was around or I surrounded myself around. And it really took me more or less, trying to understand what was it like to work in tech first before just diving in, because I see a lot of people they want to go in there for the money and they just want to get in there because of that. But you really have to, really know what matters to you. And once you kind of know what matters to you, then you can start to visualize for yourself what does it mean for you yourself to be into tech, and then you kind of lead your way into it that way.
Yeah, that curiosity is huge. And, I call it insatiable curiosity that you continue to have throughout life. You can never know too much. Especially in tech, there's always something new to learn. So you have to be curious. It is one of the core tenets. The other two things that stood out that you mentioned, the how, right? Not just what role did you have here? What role did you do there? Like, what's your day-to-day? No, how. Right? How are you doing what you're doing? Why are you doing what you're doing, and who you're working with? So those are some good things to think about. And sometimes we think about questions and we struggle, like, I don't have the right questions. I mean, basic questions are actually important and helpful for you in learning how to shift into that sector. And then the last piece was the what, right? Your North Star. You need to know what that is as well. So love that, Maurice. And Dante, I want to bring you to the conversation. And, Maurice is touching out for me when you talk about the what, that is your personal brand, right? Like who you are as an individual. So how do you develop that personal brand for what you're known for in the tech space?
Great question. So I think the big thing is as you move along in your career, start thinking about, like you said, kind of like the what and the how, but really putting that together to think about what's your impact. What are you doing and how are you leaving that impact wherever you're working? And that is how you start to build your brand and what you're known for. Like, hey, this is like when I work here, I move the numbers. For example, I work in security, like, hey, the number of security vulnerabilities drop. Or, hey, the number of users that use our application increase. What's the impact that you're leaving? And that's what you want to start to become known for. The other thing I think about is a huge piece of this is like mentoring and volunteering, because then you're starting to spread that knowledge and that's what you start to become known for. I think a lot of times people are like, well, let me go do a big talk and that's how I'll be known. But you want to help other people and get that brand across, like, hey, this person knows what they're talking about. This is who they're helping. And this is how they're making other people grow. Thinking about their impact again. And to that second piece, I think doing talks are great. One of the other things I think that hold people back from doing talks is like the imposter syndrome, where they feel like, hey, I have to be the expert in the room before I go out and do the talk. And let me tell you, not everyone who do a talk is the expert, right? They're just, most of the times they're brave enough to go out there and say, hey, I'm going to talk about what I know, and people take it or leave it. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there, talk about what you know, be willing to learn and grow, and then help others.
Yeah, I love that. The impact that you talked about is there's impact on the main stage or this virtual stage, and then there's impact behind the scenes. And both of those are really important and building out your brand and who you are. So I want to end this session with leaving with some more tangible gems. You guys have given us so many things to think about, but I want to talk about a bit around representation. So what type of programs and development opportunities help position Black tech workers like yourself to lead in this space? And if you can share anything that's been an experience that's been helpful at Microsoft, that'd be great. And then we'll close it out. So I'm going to hand it over to Maurice first.
Yeah, I think the type of programs that I tend to gravitate towards our programs that allow myself and other people of color to come together and have a space to share notes, have discussions, and then also talk with those outside of our basic group. And I know that, BAM, we do a good job with outreach in the communities, holding events, and really getting a chance to sort of give back to communities of color. And I think that I've, seen the impact of, connecting with people and just really kind of, allowing, that conversation between, people that are either working in tech and those that are not working in tech to be able to sort of come together and just sort of centralize our experience, collective experience together to sort of empower and help other people. I think that it's really important in terms of representation because, we have to start to work together more. Like, I think anything that we can do to try to come together as a body and to be able to express, opportunities that exist, or whether it be like just lending some level of expertise and being able to drop nuggets and dimes on each other, right? Like, and be like, this is how I would do it, or this is how much this you can make doing this, and these are the skills that you need. And I think like one of the things I really appreciate about BAM, and is there is a genuine sort of collective group of people that really care about giving back to the community and helping Black people thrive. And I think that hunger and that interest should be something that, you all as viewers should really try to tap into and try to get to the events, really get to know people because they are sincerely sincere about making sure that you have the opportunities that you want. So that's it.
Thank you. Dante, how about you round us out here?
Yeah, I completely agree with Mo, as I like to call him. BAM, and I think participating in other kind of like Black-oriented groups is very helpful. I think I've gotten like the best knowledge from those groups because as you grow in your career, to get to a certain level, there's not many like you that have done it before. And you're going to need a lot of support from people from similar backgrounds to help you navigate through those situations. I always think to get better, you need honest, quick feedback. And sometimes being, a Black person at work, and sometimes you don't know if the feedback is like great feedback or is it because of the color of my skin. And so it's good to talk to other peers who've been through the same situation and not just to have like a yes man, yes woman that's like, yeah, I agree. Yeah, that sucks. But someone to really challenge you and say, hey, that sucks, but what are you doing to overcome that challenge? And I think like BAM has definitely helped me with that. I think of like there's the ELC conference, there's Dev Color, Black Girls Who Code. There's a lot of groups out there that you can kind of participate in, find like-minded peers, and try to get that feedback to kind of help you grow in your career.
I was saying thank you both for sharing that. I remember plenty of late night conversations with just our own Blacks at Microsoft community over the years that have been paramount. So a few key takeaways that I definitely want to just make sure that the audience got. So Maurice, you were talking about, that longer term, those opportunities that exist and sharing more of that. And I love it because sometimes, it feels like, well, I can't share this with X, Y, and Z. It's like, no, there is more than enough room at the table for us to thrive. And the more that we're open about it in our communities just helps us out more. And I know like talking about money is sometimes faux pas. And it's like, no, like Mo, I want to know, like, what is the salary? What are the benefits? Like, I want to know that so I can bring my best self to the table when I'm trying to interview and to move up in my career. So I love that you shared like that transparency in those community groups are critical. And Dante, you mentioned some great organizations that are out there that I know you are a part of and have led as well. And I'd be remiss not to call it Afrotech that's been happening over the last week. Which is, again, another incredible network of people that are either in the sector or that want to get into tech. So there's no shortage, again, of opportunities or programs that are out there today. Thankfully, the industry has definitely moved forward in that regard. But there is definitely a lot of room for more of us to be in leadership positions. So with that, I'm so happy, Dante and Mo, that you were here today, shared a little bit about your career journeys. I hope it is inspiring to those individuals. You guys are both inspirational to me, and I definitely lean on both of you guys as well as I go through my own career journey and growth. So with that, we're going to continue to spill the tea in a positive way. And I'm going to bring my recruiting colleagues to the table. And this is your chance to ask the recruiter anything. So you know how it is sometimes for those of you that have been in schools, you're like, there's like 100 people in this recruiter circle. You never get to speak to them. This is your chance. This is your chance. Okay, so continue to drop those gems, those questions. Again, we'll try to get to as much of them as possible via DM or in the chat room. But Noel already has some good ones that he's been curating. So Noel, without further ado, hand it over to you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. So hopefully everybody's having a good afternoon. I'm Noel. I'm a principal level recruiter for Microsoft, specializing in software development and program management. My colleague Portia Holmes is senior executive recruiter for Microsoft I'm sure she'll introduce herself for the past couple of years. And then Robert Bennett, recruiter for Azure, dealing with mid-career 62 to 64 level, that's SDE2, and senior software engineer as well. So let's jump right into the questions. First one is, so what's the best way for me to demonstrate my interest in Microsoft beyond applying on the website? And I will throw that one to Robert if he's on.
Hello, can you hear me, Noel?
I can.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my camera, so apologies there.
There you go. I see you.
You see me now? Okay, great. So going to your question, ways to stand out outside of just applying for a role is definitely building your brand on LinkedIn. That's one thing that I definitely will advocate. There's different ways that you can connect with recruiters as well as hiring managers at Microsoft and just staying up to date with different things going on. One page that I definitely recommend people following that are earlier in careers is the Microsoft University Recruiting Teams page on LinkedIn. They'll post all their different events when it comes to hiring events. I know Afrotech was mentioned, Black Girls Code, NSBE. Those are other great resources that you can use that Microsoft sponsors, and definitely will have hiring managers in attendance that may do interviews on the spot. You may have a chance to come away with an opportunity there. So I wouldn't say just limit yourself to interviewing through applicant tracking systems. Definitely reach out and leverage LinkedIn, as well as our Microsoft University Recruiting page, as well as different networking events where Microsoft sponsors, and then sometimes have interviews going on live at those different conferences.
Perfect, great answer. To dig a little deeper, Portia, do you want anything you want to add to that?
Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Perfect. I think Robert hit it on the head. I think another component that's super helpful is building a network. Some of the ladies we chatted with earlier kind of spoke to this. Who you know takes you so much further than what you know when you're trying to get in the door. And I learned that. I remember in college, we were constantly attending these networking events as a part of my business degree. And I was so frustrated because that part intimidated me so much. But it was the one skill I needed to land the job I'm in today. So I think the gems Robert dropped are absolutely nail on the head. In addition to making sure you're out there and really meeting and getting to know people, selling to many people as you can why it is that you have something to offer.
Definitely. Great answer. And I'll quickly say, just don't be scared to show yourself on those social media platforms, like LinkedIn. You're into, you know, like myself, karaoke or big time wino, as my mother calls me, being into wine. Like show those things. Don't be scared to talk about something outside of work, because again, those are gems that kind of set you apart from other individuals when you start going down the line of someone's resume. All right, question 2. Let's see. Question, this is to you. What are a few characteristics Microsoft assesses for, in addition to technical depth, and in ways can work to set myself apart in such a competitive market?
It's a great question, Noel, and absolutely how you should be thinking about your strategy when you go into interviews. I'd love to break the question down into 2 parts and then address each part separately, if that works. But tapping into that first part of the question regarding the assessment of characteristics outside of your technical depth, well, technical depth is absolutely going to be important for a lot of roles here at Microsoft, and definitely a focal point. It by no means is enough to get you the job. And interviewing for any and all roles across Microsoft, it's important to pull from your experience enough substance that really presents a well-rounded view and display of everything you have to offer. The first thing I always share with interviewees who plan to meet with a hiring manager or a hiring team is the importance of drawing from an organization's core values. So it requires you to do research, study, do your homework, and prepare yourself. And then in those interviews, talk to how your working and your leadership style really speak to those core values. They're going to be looking for your understanding of the culture and where you could come and add value. In addition to relating your experiences and skill sets back to company values, I also believe it's equally important to showcase the strengths you possess up against the expressed needs of the team. So listen intently in the initial conversations you have with the recruiter or with the hiring team. What needs of the team are they revealing? In those screens ahead of your formal interview, because you'll typically have 1 or 2 screens over phone, there's an opportunity to ask questions. That's your money play. Ask questions like, what are the gaps the team is looking to fill? Where is there an opportunity for an external to add value? In what ways did the incumbent in this role set the bar? And where are you looking for evolution and elevation when you hire your replacement? The answers you receive to those questions will help you set up the way in which you share and draw from your experiences to sell yourself. And then jumping to part 2 of that question, how do you set yourself apart in such a competitive market? I love when people ask me this question. I think it reveals humility in a candidate and that they understand the market is hot and talent is abundant. So those who land the job are the ones who successfully display their authenticity and their uniqueness, and they convince the hiring team why the team needs their special sauce, if I can call it that. So setting yourself apart is critical. It's no longer a market where one of a kind is common. So you'll want to go into your interviews using that as your motivation to think creatively in a way to present yourself. Instead of simply sharing ways in which you fulfill the requirement of the job, consider talking to how you're investing in yourself to prepare for the evolving needs of the team. Don't focus purely on what you've done in the past, but share plans on what you have planned for the future. Paint a picture for the team that helps them understand what they're committing to and bringing you on board, and help them understand the continuous return they'll receive on their investment in you. Another way to do this, and honestly, I think this is often underrated, I don't know if I could call it that, but it's an opportunity missed for a lot of candidates when they go into interviews, is to always ask questions. And not your basic questions like, what did the job pay? Ask thoughtful questions that say you took the time to really consider all of the nuances of that opportunity and the idea of a new career move for yourself. This showcases your investment in evaluating the roles fit for you, which you absolutely should be doing. It's not a one-way street where Microsoft or whatever company you're interviewing with is only evaluating you. But it also gives the hiring team insight into the way you think, how you strategize, how you prioritize, where and what you place value in. Asking questions is for more than just simply getting an answer. It closes the interview in a way that really leaves a lasting impression. I know that was a lot. I hope that was helpful.
Well, hopefully everyone sees why you're an exec recruiter, because you got that executive presence. You guys don't realize how brilliant Portia is. That was that.
Thank you.
You know, it's the truth. See, one more question before we run out of time. This is an important one. So can we provide some advice on how to negotiate for what I'm worth? If you guys don't mind, I'll take this one really quick and then have you two jump in. It's do your research. Black and brown people and women make less, than our white male counterparts. And then when you look within that, Black and brown women make less on the dollar than Black and brown men. So definitely doing your research and asking for what you want, and not being scared about walking away from an offer. I know we have websites out there like Levels FYI. We talk to our colleagues. The tech world can be very small. And we think because X candidate, your best friend gets this offer, I should get this. And I understand it's a good base reference for comparison, but you really need to do your research and be clear on the things you want. And then also don't think so literally. We think about salary, you think about RSUs. There are other things at play like health insurance, like work-life balance, like 401k, like extra vacation times. I think often on people that I'm mentoring, they don't think about those things, and those add up. And then just really try to break it down to the dollar amount. I know, look, $40,000 a year is a lot of money. I'm not gonna, poo-poo that. But when you think about your work-life balance, or you think about the things that are important to you, is working those extra 20 or 30 hours a week, worth that in the end, when you're not seeing your family, when your mental health is starting to lapse, is that in the end worth it? But ultimately, it's a personal choice. Rob, Portia, really quick, anything you guys want to add to that?
I feel like you hit it right on the head, Noel. Just a quick add is just, know your worth. Know your worth, do your research, understand what is the market going for, your specific field. Also think of non-monetary things that you're looking for when it comes to negotiating, right? Understand what is the paid time off, what is the maternity or paternity leave, the benefits, because those are other areas of compensation that you may want to weigh. If you're relocating to Washington, understand that there's no state tax there. So that's another thing that goes into the negotiations when you're understanding your compensation. So I say really do research about what is the market, knowing your worth, but then also understand the non-monetary things or gains that you get from, an offer package, and how that affects the overall price. They may not offer something that you want. They may push you to want to ask for more money, or you notice that they may cover some things that you didn't have before, like say, daycare may be covered. So, now you may take a little less than what you were, originally thinking. So really understand what makes up the compensation package that will make you happy, and don't leave anything on the table.
Great advice. And Portia, really quick before we
I think
turn it back over.
You guys hit it on the head, said everything I would have said to get out of my mouth. So chef's kiss, y'all, on the money.
Perfect. And don't be scared to negotiate. As recruiters, the back and forth, and it's not the most favorite part of our job, but I'm even, less comfortable with someone getting less than what they deserve. So definitely push back. And with that, again, thank you for your time. I'm going to turn it over to Desmond to close us out.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Noel, and thanks to the recruiters who were on the call today. I think those are just some great nuggets that you guys have shared, and I know I took away some things from it, and I hope that, it's just our pleasure to offer up some of that information and how we see the future of work and what you should be thinking about in your next role. So I hope that you all got something out of that. As a reminder, just feel free to continue to DM us for more information, and visit Microsoft.com/learn to get started with some of our skills resources. Again, where our goal is to skill upwards of 25 million people over the course of this year, and we're offering some great things to get you started. We look forward to talking with you all soon. We look forward to receiving your applications and connecting with you on LinkedIn. So definitely don't be a stranger, and feel free to reach out. Take good care and stay safe, everybody.